Numbers 29. On the first day of the seventh month, you are to have a sacred assembly. You are to do no laborious work. It is for you a day for sounding the shofar. You are to prepare a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to Adonai. One young bull from the herd, one ram, and 7 male lambs a year old without flaw, with their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah with the bull, 2/10 with the ram, and 1/10 with each of the 7 lambs, as well as one male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for yourselves. Also offer the burnt offering for the month with its grain offering, the regular burnt offering with its grain offering, and their appropriate drink offering as a pleasing aroma to Adonai as an offering by fire. On the 10th day of this month, of this 7th month, you are to have a sacred assembly. You are to deny yourselves and do no work. You are to present to Adonai burnt offering as a pleasing aroma, one young bull from the herd, one ram, and 7-year-old male lambs without defect, along with their grain offerings of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah with the bull, 2/10 with the ram, and 1/10 with each of the 7 rams. Also offer one male goat for a sin offering in addition to the sin offering for atonement, as well as the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and their drink offerings. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you are to have a sacred assembly. You are not to do any of your work, and you are to celebrate the feast of Adonai for 7 days. You are to offer a burnt offering by fire to Adonai as a pleasing aroma, 13 young bulls from the herd, 2 rams, and 14-year-old male lambs without defect. Their grain offerings of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah with each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 with each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 with each of the 14 lambs, plus one male goat as a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offering. On the 2nd day, you are to offer 12 young bulls from the herd, 2 rams, 14-year-old male lambs without flaw, with their grain and drink offerings, with the bulls, rams, and lambs as appropriate by their number according to the regulations, plus one male goat as a sin offering, as well as the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offering. On the 3rd day, offer 11 bulls, 2 rams, and 14-year-old male lambs without defect, with their grain and drink offerings, with the bulls, rams, and lambs, the number specified, and a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to a regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, and 14-year-old male lambs without flaw, their grain offerings and drink offerings, with the bulls, rams, and lambs by their number according to the regulations, and one male goat as a sin offering and a regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 15th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male 1-year-old lambs without defect, with their grain and drink offerings by their number as specified, and one goat for a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, with its grain and drink offerings. On the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old without defect, with the bulls, rams, and lambs, their grain offerings according to those numbers specified, and one goat for a sin offering, with a regular burnt offering and its grain and drink offering. On the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs without defect, a year old, plus their grain and drink offerings, for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the numbers specified, in addition to one male goat for a sin offering and the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 8th day, there shall be for you an assembly. You are to do no regular work. You are to offer to Adonai a burnt offering, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma, 1 bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs, a year old without defect, and their grain and drink offerings, with the bull, ram, and lamb according to their number, according to the regulations, and a goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. You are to prepare these for Adonai at your Moadim, in addition to your vow and free will offerings, along with your burnt offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, and fellowship offerings. So Moshe told Bnei Israel all that Adonai commanded Moshe. Chapter 30. Moshe spoke to the princes of the tribes of Bnei Israel, saying, "This is what Adonai has commanded. Whenever a man makes a vow to Adonai or swears an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he is not to violate his word, but do everything coming out of his mouth. Suppose a woman in her youth vows to Adonai or obligates herself by a pledge in her father's house. If her father should hear her vow or her pledge with which she obligated herself, and her father says nothing to her, all her vows and every pledge by which she has obligated herself will stand. But if her father should forbid it on the day of his hearing it, none of her vows or pledges by which she has obligated herself will stand. Adonai will forgive her because her father has forbidden her. Suppose she should marry after her vow or a rash promise of her lips by which she obligated herself. Now, if her husband hears about it, but says nothing to her on the day he hears about it, her vows will stand, and her pledges by which she has obligated herself will stand. But if her husband should hear about it, and on the day he hears it, he forbids it, he thereby nullifies her vow and her rash promise by which her lips have obligated her, and Adonai will forgive her. Any vow or obligation of a widow or a divorced woman will be binding on her. If in her husband's house she vowed or obligated herself by pledge under oath, and her husband should hear it and say nothing to her, not forbidding her, all her vows and every pledge by which she has obligated herself will stand. But if her husband should nullify them on the day when he hears of them, nothing from her lips, whether vow or pledge, will stand. Her husband has nullified them, and Adonai will forgive her. Her husband may ratify or veto any vow or sworn oath to deny herself. But if her husband says nothing to her from day to day, then he is confirming all her vows and all her oaths that are on her. He confirms them by saying nothing to her on the day of his hearing about it. But if he nullifies them after hearing about it, he will bear her guilt. These are the statutes that Adonai gave to Moshe, relevant to relationship between a man and his wife, as well as between a father and his young daughter still living in his house. Chapter 31. Adonai spoke to Moshe, saying, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for Bnei Israel. Afterward you will be gathered to your people." So Moshe spoke to the people, saying, "Mobilize some of your men for battle. They will go out against Midian to carry out Adonai's vengeance on Midian. Send into the battle 1,000 men from each of the tribes of Israel." So from the thousands of Israel, 1,000 from each tribe were assigned, 12,000 in all. Moshe sent them into battle, 1,000 from each tribe, and with them Phinehas, son of Eleazar the Kohen, who took with them articles from the sanctuary and trumpets from signaling. They fought Midian just as Adonai had commanded Moshe, and killed every male. Among the slain, they also killed the Midianite kings, Evi, Rekem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam, son of Beor, with the sword. Bnei Israel also captured women and sons of Midian, along with all their herds and flocks, and plundered all their goods. They burned with fire all the Midianites cities, settlements, as well as their camps. They seized all the plunder and all the spoil, both people and animals. They brought the captives, plunder, and spoils to Moshe, Eleazar the Cohen, and to the assembly of Bnei Israel at their camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. Moshe, Eleazar the Cohen, and all the princes of the community went to meet them outside the camp. But Moshe was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, those returning from the campaign of the war. Moses said to him, "You let all the women live? Why they are the ones because of Balaam's advice, who caused Bnei Israel to be unfaithful to Adonai in the matter of Peor, so that the plague was on the community of Adonai. So now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has been intimate with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has not been intimate with a man. Any of you who has killed anyone or touched the body of anyone who has been killed must stay outside the camp for 7 days. You must purify yourselves on the 3rd and 7th days. You and your captives also purify every item of clothing, as well as every item made of leather or wood." Eleazar said to the men of the army who had gone to war, "This is the regulation of the Torah Adonai gave to Moshe. The gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, lead, and anything able to pass through fire is to be put through the fire and will then be clean. It is also to be purified with the water of cleansing. Anything that cannot stand the fire is to be put through the water. You are to wash your clothes also on the 7th day. You will then be clean and may then come into the camp." Adonai said to Moshe, saying, "Count the total spoil from the captive people and animals, you, Eleazar the Cohen, and the princes of the fathers of the community. You are to divide the spoil between those fighting in the war, taking part in the battle, and the rest of the community. You are also to set apart from the men of war going into battle tribute to Adonai, 1 item from every 500, whether persons, cattle, donkeys, or flock. From their half share, take and give it to Eleazar the Cohen as Adonai's part. From the half of Bnei Israel, you are to take 1 in 50, whether persons, cattle, donkeys, flock, and any other animals, and give them to the Levites, those charged with the care of Adonai's tabernacle." So Moshe and Eleazar the Cohen did just as Adonai commanded Moshe. The remaining plunder taken by the people of the army was 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and from the human spoil were 32,000 women who had never been intimate with a man. The half share of those going into battle was 337,500 sheep, of which Adonai's tribute was 675, 36,000 cattle, of which Adonai's tribute was 72, 30,500 donkeys, of which Adonai's tribute was 61, 16,000 persons, of which the tribute to Adonai was 32. Moshe gave the tribute, Adonai's part, to Eleazar the Cohen, just as Adonai had commanded Moshe. From the half belonging to Bnei Israel, which Moshe had set apart from that of the fighting men, half belonging to the community was 337,500 of the sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, 16,000 persons. From this half, Moshe took one out of every 50 persons and animals, as Adonai had commanded him, and gave them to the Levites, those charged with the care of the tabernacle of Adonai, just as Adonai had commanded Moshe. Then the officers over the units of the army, the commanders of over thousands and hundreds, came to Moshe They said to him, Your servant have counted the heads of the men of war under our command, and not one is missing. So we have brought as an offering to Adonai the gold items each of us acquired, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, necklaces, to atone for ourselves before Adonai. Moshe and Eleazar the Kohen received the gold from them, all the crafted items. All of the gold presented as a gift to Adonai came to 16,750 shekels from the commanders of thousands and hundreds. Each of the men of the army had taken plunder for himself. Moshe and Eleazar the Kohen received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for Bnei Israel before Adonai. Chapter 32. The sons of Reuben and Gad had very large herds and flocks, and they saw that the territory of Jazer and Gilead were ideal for livestock. So the sons of Reuben and Gad came and said to Moshe, Eleazar the Kohen, and the princes of the community, saying, Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimra, Heshbon, Eleale, Sevam, Nebo, and Beon, the territory Adonai conquered before the community of Israel, are suitable for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Then they said, If we have found favor in your eyes, let its territory be given to your servant as a possession. Don't make us cross the Jordan. Moshe replied to the sons of Gad and Reuben, Should your countrymen go to war while you dwell here? Why do you dishearten Bnei Israel from going across to the land that Adonai has given to them? Your fathers did this when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to look over the land. They went up to the valley of Eshcol and viewed the land, but they discouraged the hearts of Bnei Israel not to enter the land which Adonai had given them. The anger of Adonai was aroused that day, and he swore an oath, saying, The men who came out of Egypt from 20-year-old and upward will not see the land I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For they have not followed after me with a whole heart, except Caleb son of Zephuneh the Kenizzite, the Joshua, and Joshua son of Nun, for they were wholehearted after Adonai. The anger of Adonai burned against Israel, and he caused them to wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation doing that evil in Adonai's sight was gone. Now look, here you stand in the place of your fathers as a brood of sinful men, to add more to Adonai's great wrath against Israel. If you turn away from him, he will repeat again, leaving this people in the wilderness, you being the cause of this people's destruction. Then they came up to him and said, We will build sheepfolds for our livestock and cities for our children, but we are prepared to arm ourselves and go ahead of Bnei Israel until we have brought them to their place. Our children will live in the cities fortified against the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until each one of Bnei Israel has received his inheritance. Yet we will not inherit with them on the side beyond the Jordan, since our inheritance has come on the east side of the Jordan. Moshe said to them, If you will do this, if you will arm yourselves for battle for Adonai, and if all of you cross the Jordan until Adonai has driven his enemies from before him, and the land is subdued before Adonai, then afterward you may return and be free before Adonai and Israel. Then this territory will be your possession before Adonai. But if you don't do this, behold, your sin against Adonai, be assured your sin will find you out. Build for yourselves cities for your children, the pens of your flocks, then do what has come out of your mouth. The sons of Gad and Reuben said to Moshe, saying, Your servant will do just as my Lord is commanding. Our children, our wives, our flocks, and all our herds will remain here in the cities of Gilead. But your servants, everyone armed for battle, will cross over for the war before Adonai, just as my Lord says. Moshe then gave orders about them to Eleazar the Kohen, Joshua son of Nun, and to the chiefs of the fathers of the tribes of Bnei Israel. Moshe said to them, if the sons of Gad and Reuben cross over the Jordan with you, everyone armed for battle before Adonai, when the land is subdued before you, then give them the territory of Gilead as a possession. However, if they do not cross over fully armed, they are to possess the land of Canaan with you. The sons of Gad and Reuben answered, saying, what Adonai has said to your servants, so we will do. We will cross fully armed before Adonai into Canaan, but our inheritance will be on this side of the Jordan. Moshe then gave to them the sons of Gad, Reuben, and half-tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land with its cities, and the territory around the cities. The sons of Gad built up Dibon, Ataroth, and Aroer, as well as Atroth, Shofan, Jazer, and Yotbeha, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran as fortified cities, as well as sheep pens. The sons of Reuben built Heshbon, Eleale, Kiriathaim, Nebo, Baal Meon, cities whose names were changed, and Sibmah. They gave other names to the rebuilt cities. The sons of Machir, son of Manasseh, went up to Gilead, captured it, drove out the Amorites who were there. So Moshe gave Gilead to Machir, son of Manasseh, and he lived there. Jair, a son of Manasseh, went and captured their settlements and named them Jair villages. Noba went and conquered Kenath and its settlements and named them Noba after his own name.